Hey everyone, welcome back to the IHC Craft Room. Today is live number 2 of the Fabulous Fall series, and we're going to be dot painting this maple leaf or leaf shape. I think it's a maple leaf. I don't know. It's a leaf. We're going to dot paint it today using some fall colors, and we're going to do it in a mandala style, which means we're going to make it up as we go along. So I'm intending to use acrylic paints from the dollar store. Some of these are from Michael's, like these smaller ones. But basically, basic craft acrylic paint is what you're going to need. And I'm probably going to use some kind of jewels or rhinestones or something. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see how the spirit moves me. And today I'm going to be using my dotting tools, but I will talk to you about alternative tools. If you don't have dotting tools, then don't worry. You can still chill with me. We can still dot paint together. You can just use some stuff from your junk drawer. Okay, so we're going to talk our way through that. But first, let's talk about the base coat. Now, I'm using what I consider an autumn or fall color palette. And so when I think of the way the leaves turn, it starts green, then it goes like yellow, and then kind of orange, and then red, and then brown, and then it's on the ground. At least that's the way I think of it. And so that's how we're going to roll today. Instead of doing green, though, I might do some green accents, but I decided that I wanted the background of the leaf to be like a nice dark green, like this hunter green. So I did 2 or 3 coats of paint on this. And also, just to mention, I got this wood shape from the dollar store. I think this is from Dollarama. Crafter's Square. No, that's Dollar Tree. Right? I think so. I think that's Dollar Tree. But I got this from the dollar store. I look for these kinds of decor wood pieces. Oh, you know what? It is Dollar Tree. It is definitely Dollar Tree because I just remembered seeing it hanging in there. Anyway, Dollar Tree is where I got this. So have a look at your local dollar store. They might have something similar. And so voila, by the fact that I did this ahead of time so I don't have to worry about mistakes, I gave my leaf a coat of paint, this hunter green. This is actually 2 or 3 coats of paint because this turned out to be a really thin paint, unfortunately. And then I gave it 2 coats of this varnish. Now, I use Liquitex matte varnish because it just happens to be my favorite for the time being. I've been using it for quite some time, but really any varnish will do. Just make sure that you do varnish your base coat. This is because when you are dot painting, if you make a mistake and you'll be using a Q-tip to help clean that mistake off, usually using like a sweat, like a curled pull up motion, but also sometimes you do a little bit of scrubbing, and I don't want this green to come off and mess up my whole thing. So that varnish coat is going to keep that green in place beautifully. And then you can just focus on the wet paint that you're trying to pick up. So that's why varnish is so important for the base coat. All right, let's get started. I think I'm going to be using a stencil today. I have 2 of these, and this is just to kind of make it somewhat symmetrical. This is a really odd shape to be dot painting on and doing a mandala on. So we're going to like figure it out as we go. But I feel like it would be useful to do something with like, and I'm going to use a chalk pencil to like very lightly. Is that straight? I think that's straight. Like, now, do I need this many circles or is this going to be enough? 3. I think 3 is going to be enough. Now, of course, if you wanted to do a more advanced type of mandala, then I would recommend this many lines. But we're going to do something that is super easy to follow and that you can do at home, hopefully. And because that's the way I like to roll. Okay. So I'm going to say this is somewhat in the center, and it'll give us an idea of what we want for the middle portion here. So I'm going to grab my chalk. Where are you? Chalk pencil. I use General's pastel chalk pencils. I got this from Amazon, but they also sell them at Michael's Canada. And I constantly struggle to sharpen them because they break off, but very easy to, well, not very easy, but probably the easiest chalk pencil that I've used in terms of being able to remove it easily, or easier than most cases. The thing you need to know about chalk pencils or chalk lines that you leave at least in my experience. Perhaps someone else has better experience than I, but I find it's always a struggle to take off chalk. That doesn't stop me from using it, as you can see, because I feel like the benefit outweighs the frustration of wiping it off. I just really try to take my time and be careful and, you know, whatever. Now, you can take chalk off with like a damp Q-tip. I've seen some creators use like baby wipes and stuff. I actually normally use a pencil eraser, like a regular pencil eraser, nothing fancy. And that works pretty well. But occasionally a wet Q-tip. I don't know. I kind of like go between most of those things, I guess. So anyway, keep that in mind if you do use a chalk pencil and you've finished your creation. And by the way, make sure you let your stuff dry for at least 24 hours before you start trying to erase anything, especially if you have big dots. All right, let's see what these lines turn out to look like. All right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, am I going to do that over here as well? The thing is, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it now. I kind of had in mind, is this straight? This doesn't feel straight. Oh, no, it is. Okay. I kind of had in mind that I wanted to put a really big circle in the center, like a really big dot, which I'm going to try to level out as fast as possible. And then I want to put like some kind of jewel right in the center. The thing is, I don't have any big green jewels, and I kind of would have liked to use green for this, but I think we might end up using more like this, either this kind of mustardy, yellowy, almost apricot-y. I don't even know what color that is. Is that supposed to be gold? I don't know. I don't know, but these kind of colors that are leaning into like this yellowy color, or I have this just, it's black and white, but I have this straight white. So I'm thinking maybe that might be, I don't know. We're going to see. I really do like the idea of having a big stone in the center. I do have this red as well. Let me show you because it just happens to be sitting here. So now remember, we're using autumn colors. So we're using red, we're using orange, we're using yellow, we're using brown. Like this is going to be a dark palette. So red in the center, I feel like is a great way to kind of add a little pop. Hi there, Tony. Welcome. Okay, so let's see. I'm thinking, yeah, we're probably going to do red. I'll set it aside for now and we'll decide after. But I'm going to do an undercoat in certain spots in a light color like white, because I do want to do a lot of top dots on this project. So what that means is we're going to do one dot that has one color, and we'll either lighten up the color or darken the color, and then make a smaller dot over top of it as a top dot. This gives you an added bit of depth. It gives you different colors that you can bring in at different points. So I'm trying to kind of think, where do I want to start? What color do I want to start with? In the center. If I was going to have red in the center, then I want to start with red. I'd like to have, but then that doesn't look like you don't have a color around it. Maybe I should do orange in the center and then put the red over top. Okay, that's what we're going to do. As you can see, I have no plan. There is no plan here. I'm just going with the flow. So if you're interested in figuring this out as we go together, I hope you have something yummy to eat. I just ate and I'm very content. Okay. I'm going to do a big, big orange dot. Now, if you're dotting along with me and you don't have dotting tools like these are rods. I got this from a company called Happy Dotting Company on Etsy. I think she also sells these tools on Amazon. Lovely woman. I highly recommend you check her out. I also get my art stone molds from her. So check them out. And she's based out of the UK. Meow. You can also get other types of rod dot painting tools. So you can check Amazon for those as well. You don't have to get these ones. These aren't, you know, they're my preferred ones, but others will work as well. Here's a good example, a clear set that I had from before. Now I'm going to be using a really big dot because I have really big rhinestones that I want to use. So I want the dot to be bigger than the rhinestone, but I kind of don't want to paint it with a paintbrush. So now, if you do not have these types of dotting tools, I would recommend checking your junk drawer. For things like a glue stick, this is pretty thick on the end, so you get a really nice size dot out of this. Or look at the bottom of like a marker. You might find that that has a really big base. Otherwise, I highly recommend checking things like paintbrushes. They often have different sized bottoms so that you can see that you can get smaller dots and bigger dots out of these different paintbrushes. And then you can also use a Q-tip in a million different ways, with the cotton on, with the cotton off. Okay, that's not a million ways. That's 2 ways. So you can use it 2 ways. Okay. And then never forget toothpicks. Our friends, the Toothpicks. Where are you? Hi, bring you. Toothpicks, super helpful for really, really tiny dots. Or in my case, since I'm using dotting tools today, I won't be using this. I'm not dotting with these, but I will keep them nearby because very useful tool to have when you are dot painting. I find a lot of crap in my paint. So having toothpicks to help pick it all out is super helpful. So anyway, look in your junk drawer. You'll be surprised what kind of tools you can find. Look at it and think, can I make a dot out of that? In which case, give it a shot. I bet you might. You just might. All right, let's get started. I'm going to be using the biggest dotting tool I have, which is this 15.5. I'm hopeful it will be... I think I can make it bigger than this rhinestone. Now, something to make note of before we get started is because I'm using these particular rods at this moment, I will eventually switch over to my stylus dotting tools. But these rods, because they're flat on the bottom, we need to make sure that we are dotting straight up and down. So you won't be able to see me actually place the dot because I need to make sure my dotting tool is straight up and down. This is because it's flat and we need to get the entire surface to make contact so that we can get a nice big round dot. And sometimes these really big dots can also kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better word, they kind of splatter a little bit and don't look beautiful. And then I end up fixing it. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to start with orange in the center. This is called Bright Orange. Again, I'm using Deco Art Americana. This is I got this from Michael's Canada, this particular one, but Amazon does sell it. Now, when you are making a big dot, make sure you have a lot of paint to dip your dotting tool in. This is an excessive amount of paint. Right now, I wouldn't have used this much, except for the fact that I'm going to be making a big dot. I also highly recommend you have a damp cloth off to the side. We're going to be wiping our dotting tools off on that cloth. So have 1 or 2 available and keep track of your hands and make sure you don't get paint on them because we're going to be moving around a lot. All right, let's get to dotting. I'm going to make sure I get a lot of paint on this dotting tool. And since we're going to be using rhinestones, I want a little more. We also need to make sure that any big dots that we make, we try to flatten them out, like flatten out that paint as much as possible so that it'll dry. That way, hopefully we can drop a rhinestone in it later. It's a little complicated when we're working on a live stream versus what you would be doing at home. But I'm going to do all my big dots straight off the hop if I can. Okay, I'm going to go straight up and down. Here we go. This is a perfect example of what I meant. Do you see how that's a little bit out of the circle? And I'm also not quite in the middle, am I? Now, that doesn't really matter to me. Oh, yeah, it does matter because of the circle. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wipe this off. All right. Twist. I'm basically dragging and twisting so that I'm pulling the paint up. And you see when I'm pulling it away that it's only coming away orange. So I'm not grabbing that background paint. It's staying in place as planned, ergo the varnish. Now you can use a dry Q-tip to wipe this up and you'll get most of it off. But I highly recommend a little bit of moistness as well. If you're not a savage, you can use water, or if you're a savage like me, you can use spit. You know, a little extra Mary in the design is fine, is all I'm saying. All right. So now we've lost our center dot, but not a problem. We haven't dotted anywhere else. So I'm going to get my, where did I put you? Here. I'll bring you back. And we're going to try this again. Okay. All right. Take 2. Now this time I'm hoping I can get more into the center. This is honestly just me not. It's kind of hard to get a huge dot in on top of a tiny dot because you can slightly go in any direction, right? So at some point I'm going to give up. I only have so much patience for this. It's probably the last time I'm trying to do this. So if it's off center, we're going to deal with it. How's that? I think that one's pretty centered. Good. Good, good, good. All right. So I am going to use this rag to clean off my dotting tool, as I mentioned earlier. And you'll be seeing me do that very frequently. And we're going to grab a stylus. I'm using the biggest one I have, which is a 3mm. It's the biggest ball on the bottom. And all I'm going to do is take this paint that's in the center, and I'm just kind of like drawing it out to the edges a little bit. And this just means I'm flattening out the peak that kind of forms when you pull your dotting tool away. I'm doing this for the number one reason, as I mentioned earlier, is because I want this to dry as quickly as possible so that I can place a rhinestone over top, but also because I want this center dot to be flat because I do intend to dot on top of it. Well, in this case, I'll rhinestone on top of it. But if I wasn't going to put a rhinestone and I decided to put another dot on top, I want this one to be as smooth as possible. If there's a little peak, it's going to be more annoying to deal with, basically. Now, I'm getting a lot of bubbles in this paint, so I highly recommend you keep track of that. Toothpicks are great for popping if you don't have an actual popping tool, but they're great. Always keep track of your bubbles and pop them as soon as possible so that you are in control of it and it gets absorbed back into the paint. If you don't notice the bubble and then it pops by itself during the drying process, it'll end up staying in your design, which really sucks. It's happened to me. I'm not a fan. Okay, so green in the or orange in the center. So now I'm going to keep that out of the way for a while. We're going to use different colors around it. Remember, we're putting a red jewel in the middle. Let's see if this is now big enough for that jewel. I didn't even check. I'm just going to hover. Oh, you know what? I don't think it's going to be big enough. Okay, we'll use a different jewel. We can use a clear white, or I have this yellow one. Ooh. That looks pretty cool. Kind of like pumpkin-y. I think that's going to be it. Okay, I think you're going to be the one. We'll save you till later. Okay, so keeping that color palette in mind, I think we're going to trim around this in yellow. Let's do a yellow. We're using really vibrant colors today and a lot more than I would normally use in one palette. So it's going to be interesting to figure out where each one is going to land. Now, I'm going to be using the top of my dotting tool, which is a 1.25. All of these happen to be that way. Not all styluses have a 1.25 on top, so check the listing of whatever one you bought. But I would compare it to like the bottom of a paintbrush, for example, or maybe the tip of a pencil that you could make a little bit fatter rather than the very, very pointy tip. And what we're going to do is we are going to dot all the way around this circle and just put a trim around it in yellow. Now, I usually don't like to start right in the center. I would rather start on an angle because I find that dots do sometimes change size as I go. And that's because it's almost like I'm getting into it. I'm getting into the groove of it. And so I start off with dots a little bit smaller. And then as I get a little bit more comfortable, I end up with a bit of a bigger dot. It just seems to be the way I roll. And it's because what happens in terms of the size of your dot is it comes down to how much paint is on your dotting tool and how much pressure you use to place that dot on your project. So if you're using the entire surface of your dotting tool, you'll get a much bigger dot. If you're pressing down with all of your pressure, let's say, rather than holding back a little bit, you'll get a much bigger dot than you would if you were just barely kissing the top of the project. So you definitely can alter the size of your dots from just those two things, just how much paint's on your dotting tool and how much pressure and basically surface area you touch with your dotting tool. So something that you should always recommend or try to do, or I recommend to you, is to then clean your dotting tool in between, because that buildup does count. It does make your dot a bit bigger. So if you're not pulling back, you will ultimately end up with bigger dots at the end, which we don't want. In theory, the plan is to have equal dots all the way around, which is why I'm going back and forth between my project and my paint. This way, I'm always getting fresh paint and I'm not letting it dwindle and get smaller and smaller. Okay, we have enough room for that final dot. So I'm going to go ahead and place that here carefully, because that's a little close and I don't want them to run into each other. All right, we got ourselves a trim on the center. So what are we going to do next? What color should we do? I think I'm going to do more yellow, actually. And then we'll kind of lead out into, I'm feeling like a little bit of red. So let's do, I think I'm going to do a larger yellow dot on each of these bars, but just those ones. I might need a little bit more yellow. A little more yellow paint. Okay, how big of a dot do I want? I think I want an actually like fairly large dot. Not like enormous, but you know. Let's see. I don't want to touch anything by accident or drop anything. I've done that before. 4.5 or a 5. I'm thinking a 5 is going to do me well for this. So let us do this. We're going to use a 5. I would probably compare this to the bottom of a marker for sure. I'm thinking of like a Sharpie marker. Do I have a Sharpie over here? Yes, I do. See that? Very similar. Almost identical, in fact. I mean, you'll still get a bit of a bigger dot with this, but it is comparable. So, or you can think about maybe the top of a pencil. That's pretty close. So if you're working with things out of your junk drawer, that's a good way to try to replicate this size 5 rod. So I'm going to go ahead and place one on this inner ring at each of the lines. So like, oh no, what did I say? We don't start in the center. So you. Yeah, this is a great size. So I wanted something large, but not like so big that it's going to start competing with the center. That center dot is going to be our largest dot of this project. So I really don't have a plan here today. I rarely do when I'm doing this style of dot painting, when I'm making a mandala. It really just comes down to what I like and how it goes as I'm building. Just like, oh, what do I want to do next? So let's try this. Okay, cool. Now you saw that I went back and got extra paint for, I think it was this dot. And that's because when I tried to make my dot, it was smaller than the others. And I could tell that comes down to, again, the amount of paint I have on my dotting tool. So I added more paint to get that bigger dot to be equal. All right. Beautiful. This kind of feels like it's not centered to me, and I don't really care much, but I wanted to comment because when I look up at my screen, I feel like there's less room there than there is here. So that means I'm kind of shifted a little bit with the circle. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Life's hard. All right, what are we going to do next? Are we going to stick with yellow? Yes. I think I'm going to do a couple of dots coming down the center of this line. So let's start with, well, we've got this nice big 5. That's going to not be small enough, I think. Let's do a 2. Let me get all my dotting tools out here. This is a 2. So that's a bit smaller. Everybody scoot. And we're going to go straight down the line. And we're going to do a technique called walking the dots. Walking the dots just means that I'm only going to load my dotting tool with paint once. And then I am going to dot, 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 and get smaller and smaller and smaller. This paint feels a little weird. Is there something in here? Yeah, there's a piece of crap in there, see? Man. That's usually like the skin of the paint. Like it poured into the side. It turned into a film. That film came apart and fell back into the paint. That's what I think it is, but I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and dot along. Make sure I've got enough paint on my dotting tool. And we got 3 dots going straight down. I lost my line over here from when I made that mistake earlier, so I'm just going to guess. 3 dots is a little bit tight for me. I'm going a little too far from the first dot, so I'm going to try to butt up against it a little bit more. If you find this is a little too tight for you, then drop down to just 2 dots instead of 3. See, it's definitely not centered, my main dot, because I can tell by how much easier it is to dot these 3 dots on this side than it is here. So it's obviously off center. What could you do to fix that at this point? I don't really think there is anything that you could do to fix it at this point. You would have to start over, try to wipe off what you've already done, or paint over it with your base or whatever. I don't know, because I never stop. Even when I make a mistake, I keep it. I don't really care if it's a little off center personally. So I'm not really sure what you would do to fix it. I say embrace it and keep it moving. All right. That's cute. What do we want to do next? Let me think. Should we do... What if we did a long swipe that went from like here down the center in between these two? Where do I want to go? I think I might want to put a big dot in the middle here instead of what I just said. What color would I do? Should we bring in the red? Or should I stick with yellow? I don't want to bring in the orange yet. I kind of feel like I'm going to stick with the yellow and make it almost like it bursts out. So let's stick with yellow. I want to put a bigger dot in the center. I think I'm going to go back to that 5 for this yellow. Hey. Okay, let's see. That dot is smaller than the first one. Can you see? Side by side, you can tell, right? So I'm going to get a little bit more paint. That's much better. Now that first dot has a bubble. Let us pop you. Sometimes these bubbles are tricky and they hide. They go into the paint and hide, and then they come up after and pop themselves, and I'm angry. I think that one didn't pop. See? It's back. You're very rude, sir. I said what I said. All right. Oh, that was very close. I almost put my pinky in there. That was really, I'm actually kind of shocked. I really thought I did put my finger in there. frustrating when I don't get the size I want right off the bat. And I have to go back for the second dot. I find it annoying, but it's fine. All right. Now I may paint the leaves as well. We may go as far as doing something on the edges of this. We may not. We might just do something in the center and leave it at that. I have no idea. I don't actually plan these things out. I just kind of go, oh, let's make a leaf and I'll use these colors. And then that's it. That's my full plan. All right. I like it. Now, do we start fading out into orange? I'm feeling like yes. I wonder if I can make an in-between color. I'm not good at that. I'm good at like lightening a color or darkening a color, but to then like try to make this combo is not easy for me. Where did I put? Oh, here you are. But let's try it. I've got a little container because I don't remember the primary colors. So if you're supposed to mix orange and yellow, what color does that turn into? If I wasn't on a live stream, I would be asking one of my smart devices this question because I don't actually know the answer. So let's see if we do just a tiny bit. What color does it turn into? I'll bet you it's going to be like brown or green. And by the way, if you're watching this right now and you're going, how do you not know what color yellow and green yellow and orange make together? You're mean. Okay. I just don't know. You're very mean to me. Okay. It's kind of like an apricot. I like it. All right, let's make this color and we're going to go out using this and then we'll switch to orange. I don't want to make a ton. So I mention this every time I make a custom color. The number one rule is to stir slowly, which you can see I am not doing. I stir very quickly. And that introduces a lot of air into the paint. And there's a bunch of bubbles in here. I don't know if you can see them, but it's no bueno. And that means now I'm going to have to deal with bubbles more so than usual because I've been impatient and I've stirred quickly. Oh, well, I'm a naughty girl sometimes. What are you going to do? Life's hard. I would rather deal with the bubbles than be stirring slowly because I find it incredibly frustrating. I don't know why. I just do. But do as I say, not as I do. Stir slowly, avoid the bubbles. Live a blessed life. Okay. Let's get you guys out of here. You can scoot as well. Let's go ahead. There's a tiny bit of paint on the edge of this, and I know this is going to end badly for me if I don't clean it off. This is one of those moments where you can get paint on your hands and not realize it and touch things. All right. We're back. What are we going to do next? I'm thinking, what if we do the same 3 dots going outwards of those yellows, and we'll use this color for that. I like it. Okay, we did a 2 millimeter for that. Maybe we'll do more than 2 dots or 3 dots because we have the room, right? Let's do that. Well, in that case, I can't start here. I have to start here. Now I'm going to fill up my dotting tool with my paint and I'm going to walk the dots again. And this time I'm going to walk them. We have 3 dots here. So let's aim for 5 or 6. Let's see how that goes. I think I want to stick with 4. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with 4. I like it. Now I'm going to not be able to fit 4 where the leaf changes, and that's fine. You fit what you can fit. Yeah, this color is leaning into yellow a lot, but I think once we place the orange dots, you'll see that it's a combination color. Hmm. Now, what are we going to do next? Okay. What do we want to do next? Do we want to put a big dot here? Yeah, I'm thinking that's the right move. And I think we're going to do it in this color. And I want it to be bigger than this. So that was a 5 we used before, I think. Yeah, it was a 5. So everybody scoot, please. We need to find the right color. We need to find the right size. I'm thinking 7.5. When you're trying to decide what size you want to place in a spot, and you're using your dotting tool as the way to estimate, always assume that even though your dotting tool is showing you this size circle, your dot's going to be bigger than that because your paint is going to cause your dot to come out bigger. So if you're seeing it in place and you're thinking, I don't know if that's big enough, remember it's going to be just a tiny bit bigger because of your paint. So I think this 7.5 is going to be perfect. If not, we could go to this 8. But I feel like that's, well, you know what? I kind of like the 8. We're going to do the 8. Now, I didn't make much of that color, so I don't have a ton. I think we should have enough for this, though. And if not, then I'll try to make it again and hope that it's as close as possible. So I'm going to put that, I think, between here. Yeah. So we'll start right here. Oh, that's huge. That's huge. All right. I'm into it. I'm committed. Now, do I have to be committed? No, I've only made a couple dots. If I really hated it, I could wipe this off carefully, but I don't hate it. It's bigger than I had planned, but I really, you're going to notice more and more if you watch any of the videos on my channel that I go with the flow as much as possible when I'm making a mandala. Actually, just in general, when I'm crafting, I try to go with the flow. It makes it easier, in my opinion, if you're not so rigid when you're trying to create something beautiful. It makes it easier to actually embrace your creativity if you're not being so rigid about what you need to see happen. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it's definitely something that has been a lesson to me. Yeah, you need a little more, pal. It's a very faint color difference. But remember, we're going to also be doing some top dots in the end. So we can always change up the main colors you're seeing. I think that one's okay. All right, we did it. I like it. So there are some things we're going to start filling in on this design a little bit later. Right now, I'm trying to get like the main portion of the mandala built out because I want these big dots to dry up as much as possible so that we can go ahead and do. I don't like this dotting tool for this. So I'm doing the same thing I did with our center dot, which is I'm going around and I'm spreading out the paint. Now, would I have done this if I wasn't having a live stream right now? I may not, because if I have to wait for paint to dry when I'm just dotting for my own pleasure, I might have another project on the side that I could just pick up and work on in between and then come back to this when it's dried. But because we're in a live stream and I want to make sure we can get through as much of this together as possible, spreading out the paint is really going to help with that, help it dry quicker. And we've got plenty of bubbles because Mary's an impatient stirrer. All right. I think we got them all. Okay. I think I'm going to move on to orange now. We're going to go with, so let me put your hat back on. What shall we do? I feel like I want to continue the pattern to some degree, but I don't know if I want to do a small dot. And then we do a bigger dot in them. Yeah, that makes the most sense, right? Actually, I think I want to do a swipe on the top of this. In which direction? Coming down. And then we can put a dot in the center. And we can maybe put some other colors on either side. Do I want to do that? What colors would I do on either side? Well, let's start with the main orange one. So I'm going to do what I call a swipe. It's called different things from different people. I've heard some people call them swooshes. I call them swipes. So I'm going to have a quick sip of water and we are going to do a row of swipes in orange. Okay, so we're going to start off with, I think I want it to be a fairly large swipe. So maybe we'll start with a 4.5 dot. Or should we go up to a 5? That would be these. That's pretty big. Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, in orange. So I'm using my 5.0. So again, we would compare this probably to the top of a pencil eraser. And I'm going to start down here. Now, our line stops there, but I want to go higher than that, which in some cases I won't be able to do, can I? Oh, yeah, I can. If I'm following this one, my lines, yeah, I can do it. Okay, so we're going to kind of eyeball because I don't have outer lines here, and I had no intention of going any further with the lines. So we're going to eyeball and measure with our heart. So just above. Let me make sure we get a little bit more paint in there. And now I'm going to take my thinnest, smallest dotting tool, which is my 0.8 millimeter. I'm going to take a little bit of paint onto it. And now I'm going to go into the center of this dot and I'm going to start pulling this paint straight down. Like that. Okay. So now it's got a little, like a mushroom head. You can leave it like this if this is your vibe, or you can fatten it up a little bit and kind of just fill out those corners. So that's what I'm going to do. Actually, I'm not going to add any more paint from my palette. I'm going to try to grab the paint from within the dot, and we are going to just pull it this way. Okay. Same on this side. So we got a nice teardrop shape. Now I'm going to try to pull it a little bit down because I don't like how skinny this part is and the drop is so high up. So I'm going to pull it down just a little bit more. This time I am going to grab some paint from my palette. And there we have our first swipe of the project. And that's that. Now, are they going to all look identical? Probably not. Not when I do it. I'm sure other people can make them all look identical, but I mean, good for them. Okay. So again, I'm going to start, there's a bubble here. I'm going to start with a little bit of paint on my dotting tool, and I'm going to pull it straight down on that line. Okay, and now I'm going to fill in. Beautiful. Nice. A little bit of patience, but I actually find these a lot of fun to make. It's definitely a bit more of a time-consuming thing if you're doing it this way. There is a whole section or a whole niche of dot painting on the internet where people use their paintbrushes, both to make the dots in general, but especially to make these types of swipes. And they are gorgeous, long, gorgeous swipes that they do. It's just a completely different type of technique, you know? All right. We are rocking and rolling over here. This one's coming out a little crooked. Let's see if we can straighten it out. You'll notice that I'm very careful. If you want to have this sharp bottom, you want to be careful that you don't keep dragging paint down in that direction, because that's how you end up with a very thick bottom, which is fine if that's the look you're going for, but it's not for what I'm doing here. So you'll notice that when after I place my, oh my God. Oh, what a bummer. All right, well, we're going to try to fix it. Things happen. That's a real bummer. Oh boy. Okay, what can I fix? How do I fix? Okay, so we got lucky here because small dots tend to dry pretty quickly. So these little dots in between are mostly dry. That's honestly a miracle. I don't know how this came out so well. I thought I'd really destroyed this, but because these little dots were already dry, wiping off that paint was not as painful as I thought it was going to be. So let's go ahead and see if we can fix this yellow dot now. What was that? A 5, I think. Oh man, that stressed me out hardcore. If I'm not mistaken, it was a 5. It might have been a 4.5. I'm going to start with a 4.5. This is the yellow. I wonder if I can try to take it up completely. But I think it's okay. And now I got to fix that guy there as well. Actually, I don't think I'm going to, because I'm going to top dot those. But what if I decide not to after? I'm better off fixing it than regretting it later. And that would have been an 8. Well, there you go. You managed to see me do a straight up dropping of my tool on my wet paint. I messed up my design. And I got a little bummed out, but we managed to fix it. Beautiful. So that's how you fix a mistake. You try to stay calm. You try to stay patient, and you see what's dry, what's not, and see what you can get away with. And I managed to actually make this look almost like it didn't happen. So I'm pretty pleased. All right. Well, there was a little diversion nobody needed. Let's go back to what we were doing. So I was using, what size was I using? I think I was using the 5, right? I think I was using the 5. Let's hope so, because that's what I'm using now. Yeah, that looks about right. See, I tell people I'm clumsy all the time, and I'm not clumsy all the time. It's just when I am clumsy, boy, am I clumsy. It's not every day, but boy, what a day when it does happen. Now, those aren't quite pointing at each other, so I might have to switch this around a little bit. That's good. I'm still shaking. It was a bit much. All right. So I always start by grabbing a little bit of paint on this smaller dotting tool because it's really, really fine. And it helps me get that really small end, but it also means that it doesn't carry a lot of paint and it will end up scraping the wood rather than leaving paint behind. So having it start with a little bit of paint and then drag some paint combined, that gives us exactly what we want. So you're going to see, I'll start off with a straight line and just a straight drag down. And that's it. I'm not going to do that again. Now we're going to fill in. There. Beautiful. And we got 2 left. And then we're going to fill in. And I think I'm going to do, I don't know, I got to think. Okay. I think for now we're going to focus our attention in this center portion, and I'm going to ignore the external parts of the leaves. We might add something in the end, but I'd rather just build out this mandala really well. And since I don't intend to make this into a second, like a 2-part live stream, I really don't want to spend a ton of time doing stuff that isn't part of the main mandala itself, because I don't want this to be a 17-hour live stream. All right, we got one more to go. Let me have a quick sip of water because we are already 1 hour in. This is definitely one of the things I loved about and still love about dot painting. It's very satisfying to see the pattern progress, you know? You make this decision that you're going to put a dot and make a swipe out of it. And then little by little, it turns itself into a pattern, doesn't it? And it's just really satisfying. And it can kill so much time without you even realizing it. All right, we're done with you for now. Number 5. Let's do that last swipe. I think this is the fastest one I've done. That's funny. Well, sure. I got faster at it, right? Okay. Good. Okay, what are we going to do next? Now, if we're going to follow the pattern we've been doing, it should be an orange ball here that's a little bit bigger, right? And then I'm thinking I might do a secondary swipe in red. That's what's kind of been floating around in my head. So what were you? This was like an 8, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, an 8. So this outer dot is going to be even bigger, or we go back to the smaller dot like this and put that here. What would that do? If I put a smaller dot here, no, not that's the size of 5. If I did a small dot here in orange, and then we do a red swipe on either side, it's going to be a lot of negative space. I think I'm going to go bigger rather than smaller. So that was an 8, right? Were you an 8? Yeah. So let's see. Ooh, 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 ooh. Everybody scoot for a minute. Everybody scoot. Let's see what a 10 looks like. You're a 10.5. Is there like just a 10? Yeah. Maybe 9.5 might be the right size. I'm going to put a little bit more orange paint because remember, we want a lot of paint when we're doing big dots. .5 or 10. I'm thinking 10 actually. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to try to make them line up with each other as much as possible. We'll see. Oh, yeah. That's the right call. right in between. Now we're going to come back and straighten these out a little bit. Smooth them out a little bit because these are very big dots. And these ones are much closer together than these ones are. There's a much bigger gap. So we'll fill that in with something and make it look intentional. Okay, we obviously can't put a dot here. Okay. And again, we can't put one here. So that's that. I like it. That works for me. Okay. Next. Now it's time to start introducing some red. So what are we going to do with red? I'm thinking what I'm going to do. Something I've never actually done before, so it might be fun to try it. Now, in the past, oh, you get out of there, sir. Nobody needs your crap in there. In the past, when I've done these swipes, oh, are you stuck? Oh, that's not good news. It means there's crap in here too. Oh boy. Okay. I'm going to need a second to clean out this nozzle because there's something stuck in here apparently. And this is the paint we're using today. Oh boy, look at that. Look at that. Hey-o. Wow. I mean, I haven't used you in a while, but you got such an attitude about it, you know? Oh. See, this is why I try to move it out of the way when I do things. Because look. Now look what I did. Man, this is just chaos today. Do I have a... whatever this thing is called. Not you. A nice pointy one. Yeah. You tried to beat me, but I win. Yeah, buddy. Oh my God, this the stealthiest hands in the world I've got right now. All right, let's try this again. And now I'm going to scoot you because now you guys got me all stressed. So let's chill. So this is called Deep Red, which basically just means it's got a little bit more blue or purple in it. It's not that cherry bright red. All right, so what I was going to say was in the past when I've done a swipe, it's either an individual swipe like this and then you dot around it, or I've done two swipes on either side so that you have the orange one is higher and then we would have like a red dot swipe below it. But I've never done above it. I don't think I want to do above it for this one, but I think I want to try that one day because it's almost like it would be like a fire flame around it. Be kind of cool. Should I try it? I mean, I could try it, and if I hate it, I can wipe it off. And that word was off, although that's not what I said. I said, ow, off. Let me have a sip of water. I'm going to think about it, if I want to put them above or below. If you're listening and you're in the chat, I'd love to hear your opinion. Should I put the swipes beside and below or above and around? Well, the chat is quiet. So I think that means you want me to decide. So fine, I will. Let's do a smaller size because the 5 is quite large. So we'll go down to, well, maybe I'll do a 3. That's really small though. We'll do a 4. We'll do a 4. And I think I am going to do it beneath rather than above. So I'm going to go ahead and start and we'll see how that goes. Put a little bit more. And then I'm going to take my dotting tool. We're going to do the exact same thing we did on that first swipe row. But I'm going to try to like get it close to the orange one to some degree. Let's see what that means. So I'm leaving a little gap in between. And my intention is to fill that little gap with some dots later. With some probably yellow dots. I think that'd look really cool. I'm going to try to make it even. Oh, that is very not even. Okay, I got to get that out of there. I shouldn't have moved it. Very good. That varnish coat, I tell you, it has saved my background, what, 3-4 times now? At least. Minimum. We're going to give that a couple seconds to dry real quick. That won't take long. There, it's already dry. Now I'm going to try to see if I can make them even this time. That's good. So you always want to drag down to the point you want first and then create from there. Because now you don't have to even worry about the direction you're going in. You're just plumping it up a bit now. That's good. So I'm not really touching, but they're very close to touching at the bottom. And again, we're going to put a little tiny row of dots in between. I'm not sure what color. I thought I was going to say yellow at first, but now I'm thinking maybe white. Make everything really bright if we did that. So we'll see how that goes. So let's keep going with this. I am liking the 4. I think it's the right size. Okay. I'm going to turn it this way. Now, if you're not the type of person who likes to turn their projects when you're working on them, feel free not to. I only do it because I can't, my brain doesn't register properly if I don't. And I'll end up making things crooked or off center or something. So I find it easier to position things and then adjust the direction of my project instead. So like, here's a good example. I need to make the dots the same, on the same plane, basically. But now I'm going to turn it because I need this to come straight down. Like that. All right. We are hopping and a jumping over here. The bigger the mandalas get, in my opinion, the harder they are to work on because I can't rest my hand. So if I was doing this just for my own pleasure and not during a live stream, I would pause several points during this process to let things dry. And I always try to remember to say that to you because this is not a typical dot painting experience when it's a live stream. I definitely let things dry a lot in real life. IRL, as they say. And the reason for that is really simple. It's easier. It's easier to just let things dry a little bit and then continue. And I mean, unless the dots are really big and full of a lot of paint, they will dry fairly quickly. Okay. I think this is going to be the slowest part. Swipes, in my opinion, always take the longest to do. And that's because I take my time about it because I'm not in a hurry. I mean, not really. Sometimes. But if I was in a hurry, I wouldn't be doing swipes, you know? I was touching that one. Get out of here, Mary, with this nonsense. How did I not notice that? It actually didn't do much damage, so I'm going to leave it alone. But I got to pay better attention because that was a really silly mistake to make. All right. We did it. So straight down. Boom. And we're going to stop there. I have to keep reminding myself of that because I have a tendency to want to keep redoing that line. And it gets thicker and thicker every time. And then you end up with a thick bottom, which is not the style I'm going for right now. There we go. That's the beauty. I don't want this gap to be too big between them. I'm trying to make the gaps about the same size. And then we'll go back in and fill. Oh, that was an actual drop of paint. I did not know that. I thought that was a little crumb of paint, but no, 'twas a drop. Varnish for the win. Once again. All right, let's try that again. Okay. This is going to be a bit of a challenge because I don't want them to be too low, but I can't go very far on that side. So let's see. Is this okay? I think so. I think that's good. It's always a challenge when you have a pattern that's kind of going off the project. Okay, I'm gonna stop messing with this one. Yeah, you can see that it's not spaced beautifully because you have so many gaps. Like look at the gap between this dot and that one versus this dot and that one. Very different. Which again, I don't care about stuff like that. I just work around it. And I'm pointing it out so that you can see it because I'm thinking about it as I'm working with it. So it's good to talk about what do you do in this situation? And the answer is you just work with what you've got. So if you've only got a little bit of space on one side and a lot of space on the other side, you'll have to figure out how to fill that dead space and accept that you're not going to have that on the other side. It's just not going to happen. You won't have the room. Okay. So now that we have, I would consider most of the base design done, we're going to start doing some fill-in dots. And then we'll start talking about what top dots we want to do and figure out if there's anything we want to do on the outside, on the leaves, on the, sorry, the petals, these sides, or if we're just going to stay in the center, which is most likely going to be the case. And we're going to decide what jewels we're going to use, if any. And I, of course, I don't have any orange jewels. That's not a color you see a lot of in jewels, believe it or not. I buy these rhinestone jewel stickers from Dollarama and Dollar Tree pretty consistently. I just like replenish my stock whenever I feel like I'm low on something. I'll just be like, oh, I think I need this color. Like I just bought that black and white set. And they come in so handy, but I never see orange. Never, actually. I hadn't even thought of it until I went looking for it for this project. Yellow, too. Yellow is not a common color. So that like mustardy color that I have is surprising. Okay, you're getting really gross. So let's fix this real quick so that I don't end up covering myself in paint. All right. Bueno. Let's continue. We have 2 left. We've been very patient. We are about an hour and 20 minutes in at this point, which is really good because we've got a lot of our base done here. I can't tell if that dot is dry. I'm going to suspect that it's not, even though it's already been like an hour. It's a really large dot. There's a lot of paint in it. So I'm going to swipe one time down. Yeah, that's all we need with this guy. Beauty. A little bit more. That's good. Okay. Last one. And then we're going to decide what we're going to do next. What are we going to do? I got some paint on my desk. No surprise there. Surprising it's only the first time, actually. Okay. Yeah, so we want to make sure I'm staying on the edge, of course, but we still want to remember to have that gap in place for the dots we're going to use in between. That's good. That worked out well. Okay. I can clean you off now. There we go. Done. Done and done. All right. What shall we do next? Let's see. I would say, generally speaking, the base of this is done. I don't really want to extend it any further out. If I did, I'd probably do a second set of these, and I really don't want to do that. They're pretty time consuming. I think we're good at this point. I think now we're going to fill in a little bit. We'll put in a little bit of filler dots in places, and I think that's a good way to move about. Okay, so let's do that. Let's see. What are we going to do for top dots? How are you guys in dry? You're pretty dry. I can start top dots now. All right, so what I'm going to do in top dots for most of these colors is I'm just going to use the base color that we already have and do like a lighter version of it if possible. So for the yellows, for example, I'm just going to mix up a light yellow for myself with, grab a little bit of this. We're going to start with some just plain white. Not a ton. And then we'll add in that yellow. Quite a bit more yellow than the white, because we definitely want it to dominate. Let me get a little stir stick. Stir stick. Let's see what we get. So really all I want is a difference in color between the two. There's no specific perfect shade of light yellow that I need. It's just contrast. Now, you don't have to do light yellow. You could do a darker color. You could do a brown. I have brown here. I was thinking about adding some brown accents in places. We may. Let's see. I mean, that's quite a bit different, right? Can you see the difference? Yeah, that's quite a bit different. I think that's fine. Or should I do just a tiny bit more? Let's do just a tiny bit more. Okay. I started off with a bit too much yellow to begin with. All right, I think we're in good shape. So I am going to dot over top of the dots we already have. We are going to do some jewels. What did we decide? That one, right? Yeah. That one right there. And then I don't have a lot of these. Be careful. I don't have a lot of these smaller ones to do the same there. Do I? How many do I need? Let's say I did it in this dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is it 8? I lost track. I just counted and I immediately lost track of what I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that is it. Okay. So I need 8 of this size. No, of this size. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do I have any more here? No. I've only got 4 and I need 8. Okay, so that's not going to work. What about you guys? You're a bit too big for that one, but you're big enough for this one. I mean, I definitely want to put the one in the center. That's like a for sure. So let's do that first because the center's dry. I'm just going to drop it on top. Not bad. Not bad. Now, again, this is a live stream, so I'm doing this now. Otherwise, I would let this dry for 24 hours, and then I would add my rhinestones, and I would be adding glue. So either Gorilla Glue, because it has a precision tip, so it's easiest to use, or you could even use this Mod Podge. Now, they are stickers, but they don't stick super well. I mean, some of them stick like crazy, but other ones don't. That's why I would put glue. But if you're not into it, then I don't know what to tell you. Now, if I did this on the bigger dot, which would mirror that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many did I say I have? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Balls. That sucks. I only needed 2 more, but these 2 are bigger. And I know I do not have more of these jewels, so I can't do anything about that. So let's get over it. What color can we do instead? I could do just a plain white one over top. Like this. Let's see. Let's see if we like that. Because our yellows are going to be painted. I'm thinking these orange ones, we're just going to use them for a bit of shine, you know? Okay, so like say this size on the orange one. That would work. Shall we try it? But those ones aren't fully dry yet. I might wait on that actually. I want to let them dry a little bit more. Or do we put red in that one? Oh, you know what? I have huge red jewels over here. Oh, I kind of like this idea of putting a red jewel on top in between. That's going to make it massively red. I kind of like that. Okay. I think I have a general idea of what I want to do. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. So let's start with these top dots now, and then we'll make our way to these outer jewels. And we're going to do the 3mm dotting tool for this. It's the biggest one in this stylus form that I have. And I'm literally just going around on the same dots that we already did. We're placing a dot over top, making sure that the top dot is a smaller size so that you can see that bottom dot coming through. Now, I know that this is not probably super visible to you because it's a light color and you might not be able to see the contrast of it. But the reason why I like doing top dots is because it allows you to introduce new color and it gives it a lot more dimension. Do we want to do a top dot on the next row out? Yeah, I think so. Hold on. Do I want it to be a light yellow? Yeah, I like the light yellow. So let's do this row as well. Yeah, I think those big red jewels are really gonna, because I was thinking, how else can I bring red in? What more pattern can I add? But that jewel's gonna do it. I don't need to do anything else. All right, we got our yellow top dots done. That looks great. I think we are going to not touch that apricot or that in-betweeny color row. We're gonna leave that as is. I don't wanna put a top dot on every single thing. Again, I'm looking for just like a little bit of added texture, maybe a slightly different color, but not necessarily on every single one we're touching. So this one in the center, this row right there, I'm gonna leave that alone. I like it the way it is. If I had enough of these jewels, I would have put those in place. But unfortunately, I don't. I keep looking back thinking I counted wrong, but I didn't. I just don't have it. Too bad. Do I have different colors that I could mix and match maybe? Like what? The gold versus the white? Alternating? I don't know if I like that. Okay, I'm just trying to make something happen that's not going to happen. Stop trying to make fetch happen, Gretchen. It's not going to happen. Okay, I need a sip of water, and then we're going to move on to top dots on these orange ones, I think. Yeah, let's do a light orange. So same as we did, I'm just going to add some white, and we're going to mix up. You know, I might just do it on the palette. I don't need that much. Yeah, I don't. Do I? Yeah, but then if I want it, I'm going to be mad at myself if I didn't make it. So these little paint pods, or these are like little storage containers. They're from the dollar store. I call them paint pods because that's what I use them for. And they're super useful because, especially if you're working on a project that you're going to be working on for multiple days, it keeps, these are like airtight. So it keeps the paint super duper ready to party. You know what I mean? So I highly recommend. I got them at my, I think both Dollarama and Dollar Tree sell them. So check your local dollar store. That's a really nice. That worked out much better than the yellow. Much, much different. I might add a little bit more. Just a bit more orange. That might be just a little too light. There's something sticking to the entrance again. It's blocking the entrance of that paint. All of these little pieces of paint that get stuck are very annoying. Oh, really? What happened? What happened? How did I get that on my thumb? Oh boy. Well, let's not forget that I threw my dotting tool right in the middle of this earlier. So like pretty much anything can happen over here. All right. So we are in these big, big ones. Now we can do a tiny dot in the center to make the orange main dot still be the biggest and most obvious color. Or we can put a fairly large center dot in this much lighter sherbet kind of color. So I'm leaning towards, what would you be? A 5 maybe? I'm going to do a 5. So that's going to make a fairly large dot, which is fine by me because we still have these orange swipes that are going to be dominating orange. Why do I have white over here? Hold on. What happened to you? Oh, a little bit of white paint got on there. That sucks. Well, I'll scrape it off later if it doesn't come off when I'm working around it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make our top dots. Now, I have to mention that because these bottom dots, these orange dots, are not fully dry yet, you're going to have situations like this. I don't know if you can see that, but do you see how that's not a full circle? It's because that bottom bit of paint is still drying and it's sucking this paint into it. So I'm going to leave that alone and I will come back and fix it later when it's drier. But that is absolutely something that happens a lot. It's one of the reasons why I tried to do my big dots right at the beginning of the live stream and flatten them out as much as possible so that they can be as dry as possible by the time I get to them to do a top dot. Because if they're fully wet, then they absorb the paint into the original dot instead of letting me dot on top. That one too. Okay. So you're probably thinking, oh, so just put more paint. No, it won't help. This is purely happening because the paint underneath is still wet. So we've got 3 of them. These 2 are okay. Let's see how this guy goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry really well. And then later on, I'll come back and I'll do a top dot over this one. Look at them. All of those. Just 2 of them were good. Oh, boy. Well, you get the vision, even if you can't get the full effect because we got some rowdy base dots. But that's a top dot, and I think that's a really good color change for us. I like it. Now, we are an hour and 40 minutes in, and we have a few options. Now, option 1 is I'm going to definitely add all of the rhinestone reds around that we talked about. So let's do that first. Again, I highly recommend if you're going to be using things like this, they do have a sticky back, but they're not super sticky. So if you have Gorilla Glue or you have Mod Podge maybe, just some kind of glue, I think it would be a good idea to use it. I usually use that Precision Top Gorilla Glue. You're a little close for my taste. This is the problem with them having glue on the bottom already, is that they don't move after you put it down. Okay. I love using these big rhinestones. I think they're just so fun. Just like rhinestones in general. I honestly don't think I've ever seen, I don't really watch a lot of dot painting artists, to be honest. I mean, I did when I first started out. Yeah, you're stuck. That's not cool. You're stuck in a bad spot, bro. Okay, good. We'll try again. You're very sticky. Oh, much better. Very better. Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, I don't think I've ever seen anybody do dot painting and put rhinestones in them. I mean, I'm sure there are people who do it, but I've never actually seen it, and I think it's super fun. So I love doing it. I think it just adds a special little element that's fun and pretty. Pretty. Okay, you are way higher than all the other friends. So let's bring you down. Oh, well, you're not very sticky. Okay, good. Okay, don't get offended that I said that about you. It was a compliment. Oh my gosh, that's too close now. Oh no. Oh, I almost swore right now. Okay, that one's going in the garbage. We're going to try a new one. My swipe didn't get that damaged, so I'm going to pretend it never happened. There. We got it. Oh, that's so pretty. All right. I think we're going to just do some little accent dots, and we are going to call this Done Like Dinner. Okay? So let's see. What do we want to do in terms of accent dots? I feel like, first of all, we're going to do a little red, a little one or a big one. We'll do a 3mm red dot on the top of each of these orange swipes. Okay. Oh, I almost put in the wrong color. I can't see this side. Okay, I like it. Now, between the two swipes, I said I was going to do like yellow. I'm thinking I'll do that in-betweeny color. Oh, no, that's going to be too close to the orange. You know what? We will do yellow then. How are you doing, yellow? Are you sticky? Yeah, you're all right. Okay, so I'm going to basically kind of like walk the dots in these sections, meaning I'm going to only put my paint color on once, and then we're going to go dot, 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 just like that. Yeah, that looks cool. Does it matter how many dots are on each side? No. Because ultimately, it's just the pattern we're looking for. It's not going to be an issue if you have more or less. But if you want to count, I'm not going to stop you. It's somewhere between 7 and 8, though. Yeah, that was 7. Ooh, that was 9. You are a longer one. Yeah, that looks cool. I like it. Oh, I did a slide dot. They're kind of stuck to each other. It bugs me. I'm going to try to fix it. Wow, that's a miracle. I only touched the red a tiny, tiny bit. That was a real miracle. I used to be able to find Q-tips at the dollar store that were made for makeup, and so they were kind of pointed at the end. I haven't been able to find those in a long, long time, and I'm sad about it because they were so convenient for this kind of thing. I should check again. The last few times I checked, they didn't have it. And it's been years since I've seen them, actually. She said bitterly. I did that one a little crooked, but whatever. All right. I like it. It works for me. See, this is why I try not to use lines much, because I find them a little distracting when I'm trying to finish off a design. Like, where else do I want to put? I like to have the background color come through a lot in my designs. You'll find that in practically everything I do. To me, the background color is part of the color palette. And so this is why I haven't used any green, because the green's already there. So what do I want, if anything, to introduce to this? I'm feeling like there's a gap between these guys that I wanted to fill, if I'm not mistaken, but with what? Because then I'd have to try. Let me see. Because there is a gap between this row of yellow dots and this row of tangerine dots that's bigger than the orange row. And that makes me think I want to put something between them, but what? Perhaps a red dot actually might be the ticket. A small red dot, kind of like this, but there. Let's do that. We're going to do a red dot. Right here. Well, I like it. Okay. Now what are we going to do? I kind of almost feel like I'm done. Like, I'm trying to think of something else that I want to see in here. Like, where do I want to fill in something? And nothing's really calling to me. Like, I could maybe do like a walk the dots around some of these bigger dots. No, I don't really think I want to do that. I feel like I might be done. What do you guys think? Am I done? I'll tell you what I think I'm going to do. I think I am going to do an orange top dot on these in-betweeny colored dots. And that will be the last dot we do. I think that's where we'll stop, because I'm not feeling compelled to do anything else elsewhere. I kind of want it to stay really open so you can get that green from the back. Now, we could debate about doing maybe an outline of dots instead of keeping this fully black. Green on the edge. What color would we do? Oh, I have a great idea, actually. Okay, let me top dot the orange dots first, and then we will trim out the full shape, like an outline, and then we'll stop. This is going to be too small. This is going to be too small. I need not a 5. Oh, maybe a 4. Do I have a 4? Beep, beep, beep. Where are you, 4? Are you hiding? I don't have it anywhere else. All right, well, let it go. We don't have a 4. Is that where you are? No, you're at 5. Okay, we'll use this one. We'll go back to the original. And I'll just try to get a lot of paint on it. Yeah, this is a bit small. I need a 4. Let's do that 4.5. If I can't find the 4, but the 3 is too small. Yeah, that's better. See, now these dots are all dry. So you can see when I'm adding the top dot, it settles really beautifully. It's a nice round full dot, no janky sides like these ones. So much easier. All right, we did it. Okay, now around the edges, I think what I'm gonna, oh, that's a really dirty rag. It's time to bust out the second rag. I always have 2. I'm thinking what I'm gonna do around the edges is I'm gonna trim this out completely. I'm gonna start, that's pretty big. Yeah, we'll start with the 3 millimeter. And I am going to go all the way around the edges with very little space in between. I want to see a little green on the edge. And I'm going to alternate between these 3 colors, and I'm going to do it in a walk the dots. So let's say I start with red. I'll do red, 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 red. And when I run out, then I'm going to switch to orange, 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 then yellow, 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 red, 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 red. So we're going to do that. Which means I'm going to be doing a lot of cleaning my dotting tool in between. So we bring out the second clean rag. So I'm going to top up all of my paints a little bit to help reactivate the paint that's underneath them, hopefully. And we're going to do our trim out, and then we're going to call it a day. I don't think I need more orange, but I'm still going to put some. Okay. All righty, shall we? Where should we start? I don't know if I'm going to do it over here, so I'll start beside it. And since we have a red dot here, we'll start with orange. So that's 6. Yellow. That's also 6. Yeah, 6 seems to be the number we're going to stick with. Red. Yeah, that's right. Isn't it? Orange, yellow, red, orange, yellow, red. Yeah. Oh, I almost did 7, which would be fine, by the way. If you get carried away and you keep dotting, well, all the power to you. You're fine. It's not a big deal. No one's going to notice it. Good Lord. And if somebody did, like, get a hobby. Can you imagine? You showed someone your dot painting project and you're like so happy with it. It turned out so great. And you're like, hey, what do you think? And they're like, oh, well, how come this one only has 6 and that one has 7? Oh, no. How did you end up in the hospital? Someone punched you in the face? Oh, maybe you should shut your pie hole then, huh? Let me just say for the record, I've literally never punched a human in my life. So I would not be able to do that anyway. I've also not punched an animal. I don't know why I specifically said human, just to be clear. I did, but never punched an animal. Or cyborg or anything like that. Red. Okay, almost touched dots. Now, I've actually somehow managed to avoid that today. I've done a million other things wrong, but I've managed to avoid blob dots today. So let's talk a little bit about what a blob dot is. I don't know if that's like a real technical term, but it's a Mary term for sure. 4, 5, 6. And basically that means you put 2 dots side by side, but they're a little too close and they end up merging into 1 dot, which would be fine if they would merge into 1 round dot, but they never do. They merge into basically the look of a football, which is not ideal when everything else is perfectly round. So we try to avoid blob dots as much as possible. But I mean, it does happen from time to time. And if it bugs you, then try to remove it. And if it doesn't bug you, then leave it in there and go about your life. Most of the time, I do leave mine in. Only when it's really, really noticeable do I do something about it. Okay, so we're going to fade out here. Ooh, and it's going to be red. Do I want it to be red? I guess I will. I'll put red. We're going to just fade out like that. And then we're going to pick up again over here. What color are we going to pick up with? Well, we'll pick up with orange. We're going to pretend we finished that round. Do I want to go here? No, I think that'll be confusing. I'm going to leave that alone. And we're going to start right here. It's going to be a little visually confusing for a few minutes until it all kind of plays out. And then you should be able to tell what's happening. Because some of these, had I realized I was going to be doing a trim, I might not have gone off on the edges of these. So there's something to be said for having a plan. I did not have a plan. I had a color plan. That was pretty much the entirety of my plan. Okay, things are getting messy over here. Let's do a little fold-a-roo. Okay, I'm going to keep track of you now. All right, we are on yellow. Almost touched it. Mary. Oh, we're going to start right at the top with that yellow dot. All right, queen. Here we go. Boop. I really love this technique of walking the dots. I just love the way it looks. It's such an easy pattern, but it's so pretty. Okay, we're just over an hour and we are almost done. An hour. It's 2 hours. Who am I? What? We're just over 2 hours and we're almost done. Nice try, Mary. Nice try. What do we do here? Well, I'm going to put one more small orange dot so that it's obviously the trim. Okay. That's good. Should I do some yellow? Or is that going to get confusing over here a little bit? No, we'll try it. No, that is going to get confusing. If I do a big yellow dot here and then keep going, I think we're going to stop at this point and we'll pick up here. Yeah, we'll pick up right there. That's good. And now we'll come out on the other side. We'll start over here and we're going to start with red to continue the pattern. So are we going to do the stem? What do you think? I kind of think I might. I feel like it would look stupid not to do the stem now that I've gotten all of this other trim done, right? Yeah. I think so. That was 7. But it's okay. We are coming up on the end, guy. Oh. Chill, bro. I have a bunch of paint bottles lined up out of camera shot. So when I moved that, it kind of smashed into a bunch of my paint bottles, like very aggressivo. All right. So we're in the home stretch. I'm curious to see what color we end up with over here. I might make it just brown. And just use that brown for the first time right at the end. Okay, everybody scoot a little bit. Okay, thank you. Back to yellow. Oh, I'm not cleaning my dotting tools well enough. I saw a little bit of red mix in, yellow mix into the red. I need to do another flipperoo. The thing is that this rag has gotten stained after all the times I've used it, so it's kind of hard to tell what's fresh paint and what's not. Okay, what color? Oh, I have to decide. Am I going to keep doing the color that we have? Or are we going to make the stem brown? Let me see. What do you guys think? Should I keep going with the color? So it would be yellow, red, orange, yellow, red. Oh, that might work out really well. It might end on the orange the way it's supposed to. Or do I do this trimmed out with brown instead? Because, you know, it's the stem. What do you think? Well, since it's crickets over here and the chat is very quiet and my guilt tripping you does not seem to be working, I've obviously lost my Italian guilt skills, which is offensive to me and my motherland, just to be clear. All right. I think we're going to stick with the color palette. We're not going to bring in the brown. No brown for you. So next color is yellow. I'm going to go sideways, actually. Okay. I'm hopeful we can get to the right, you know. What's after you? You're red. Oh my gosh, I think this actually worked out. Huh. Wow. Almost perfect. All right. We're done. We did it. We done did it. Are you guys ready for the final reveal of our fabulous fall autumn leaf, I guess? Are you ready? Beep, 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 beep. Okay, here we go. We're going to spin it around. Dun, 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 dun. Not bad. I am very pleased. This turned out really beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about next steps in case you are dotting along with me at home. Next steps are let this dry really, really well overnight. Easily 12 hours, but if you got 24, I would make that happen instead. And then we're going to erase all of our chalk lines. Now, I'm going to be using an eraser just like this, a super, like nothing special eraser that you can get anywhere that you would use in school. And I am going to erase my lines off of here. Another option would be using a damp Q-tip, works very well. And other people have also, I've seen them use baby wipes. That makes me a little uncomfortable because I don't want to reactivate the paint and then smear it. So that's the reason why I prefer like the targeted of the Q-tip or using the eraser, which doesn't introduce any water to the equation here. And then once we've erased our lines really, really well, I'm going to go ahead and put a top coat of this Liquitex matte varnish. Again, this is my preferred varnish. It just happens to be. It's nothing super duper special. It's not going to cure cancer, but if you need to use any kind of varnish you want, go for it. This just happens to be the one that I use. I'll definitely do at least 2 thin coats of varnish with the exception of the rhinestones. We're going to avoid the rhinestones or else that varnish is going to make them not so pretty and shiny anymore. And that's it. Once we've done 2 thin layers of the top coat, I'm just going to thread some jute cord through that hole and hang this on the wall because it's a stunner. Didn't it come out beautiful? Oh, I just love it. It's so pretty. I hope you enjoyed making this with me. I like to dot paint quite a lot. I do a lot of it here on my channel, and I go live every other Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So next Sunday, you won't find me here, but the Sunday after, we're going to be doing yet another beautiful fall project, which I'm super excited about. So anyway, join me then if you're interested in learning a little bit more about dot painting. I have a ton of beginner-friendly tutorials on my channel. Very many that are in this live stream, detailed step-by-step. You hear every throat clearing and sip of water that I have throughout the entire process. But I also have a bunch of videos that are 5, 10, or 15 minutes long. If you don't have a lot of time and you just want a little creativity injection for your day, check out one of those. And please tell a friend if they might be interested in learning a little bit about dot painting. I also make wreaths on this channel every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to be making some super cute ceramic pumpkin and acorn candles on Thursday of this week at 7 p.m. So join me here. We're going to make some super cute candles. I bought these like ceramic jars from the dollar store, from Dollar Tree specifically, a couple of weeks ago, and they're so cute. We're going to make candles in them. It's going to be such a blast. So we've got lots of fun fall themed projects coming up over the next few weeks. So come back and join me. I get lonely talking to myself. I mean, who's going to believe that? I talk to myself all the time. I'm sure you can tell. I mean, it's a good time, really. But I always enjoy having some company. So hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to tell your friends. And again, fall's just right around the corner. Can you believe it? Like, I can't get over it. All right, that's enough rambling out of me. I hope you guys have a fantastic afternoon. And don't forget to subscribe so that we can continue to get crafty together. Toodaloo.